Hello everyone, and welcome to my second AMV tutorial. Today we're going to be focusing on a simple zoom transition along with a bit of added warp, and this is going to look really good in your AMVs, so stay tuned. Without further ado, let's get right into the tutorial. So once again I'm back with two Twixtor clips that are all ready for me to work with. And the first thing we're going to do, if you haven't done it already, is enable motion blur. And you should do this for any new pre-comp that you create because motion blur is going to make your transitions nice and smooth. Anyways, let's create two null objects. Control D to duplicate. And the reason why we're going to put our transition on these nulls and not the main clip is because if you want to modify the scale of the main clip for whatever reason, you're not going to be able to do that without adding a keyframe to the transition. So it's a really good habit to get into, putting your transitions on the nulls. Anyways, let's link the clip to the nulls like so. And for the first null, we're going to use a really large scale value, like 500. You can always change up these values depending on the nature of the clip and also your preference, but I'm just using 500 because it's clean and for the sake of the tutorial. Go to maybe 2 to 3 keyframes, frames before the end, and make the scale 100. Now we have 2 keyframes from 500 to 100. Highlight them, press F9 to easy ease, and copy this graph. You can always make the graph less steep if you want a less harsh and fast zoom, by the way. Depends on the style you're going for. So once we have that graph, let's take a look. That looks pretty good. So onto the second null. Now, our first keyframe here is going to be the point where you want the clip to start zooming out. So preference, once again, I'm going to do it at just over halfway. You can copy me if you want, or you can put the keyframe where you prefer. So first keyframe 100, we're not going to change it. The second one is going to be a smaller value like 40. And don't make this value too small, otherwise you're going to get too much motion towel and it's going to look strange. Easy ease the keyframes and use this graph. Next, we're going to make the warp. Make an adjustment layer and make sure it is above the clip, because we want it to actually affect the clip. And apply warp. For the warp style, we're going to use fisheye. And set the bend to 0. And now, go to the keyframe where the clip starts zooming out, so that'll be here on the second null. Make a bend keyframe for 0. Go to the end and make the bend smaller. So I'm going to do -100. Reveal the keyframes, easy ease them, and use this graph. Now if you take a look, you can see that the clip kind of gets sucked into the center due to the warp, which looks really cool. Now for the second clip. Once again, I'm going to create 2 nulls, one for each part of the transition. Link them like you did before. And for the sake of the tutorial and making a clean loop, I'm going to copy the keyframes from these nulls and put them here. So now we have this, which already looks pretty damn good, but if you want to make the transition even more seamless, put an adjustment layer above the second clip. Apply warp to it. Make sure the style is fisheye. And now we're going to set a bend keyframe for -100 at the start. So what this is going to do is it's going to maintain the bend from the first clip, and the transition is essentially going to be more seamless. I'll go to around halfway and set it to 0 so that the clip becomes normal. Reveal the 2 keyframes, easy ease like usual, and use this graph. Now if we take a look at this, at what we've made, that looks pretty good. And remember, you can always enhance your clips more by adding stuff like twitches, position shakes, and black bars. So that'll be all for this tutorial. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments. I always try to respond to people who need help. And that's all from me. See you in the next video.